Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Muhammad Ali and I will be teaching you chapter 18, Amino acid oxidation and the production of urea. We will be studying this chapter from the Lineages Principles of Biochemistry 6th edition. First of all, we will introduce this topic. During the protein degradation and the protein synthesis, the excess amino acids are released. If these amino acids are not utilized for the synthesis of new proteins, they are degraded by the oxidation to produce energy. If the ingested amino acids exceed the body needs, these are also catabolized and converted into the amine and the alpha keto acids, and the energy is definitely released. During the starvation and the uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, the amino acids are utilized in the form of fuel. Under all metabolic conditions, amino acids lose their amine group and are converted into the alpha keto acids. These alpha keto acids produce energy and are converted finally into the carbon dioxide and water. Amino acids are also converted into the 3 or 4 carbon containing compounds that are utilized to make glucose through a process gluconeogenesis. For example, the protein that is coming from the muscles or that is coming from the ingested food is producing amino acids. Amino acids lose their amine group in the form of ammoniumine and into the form of carbon skeleton, that is the alpha keto acid. On the right hand side, we can see alpha keto acids are utilized into the citric acid cycle, and the final product that we obtain is the carbon dioxide, water, and the energy in the form of ATP. Oxaloacetate is also released, that is converted into the glucose. On the left hand side, we can see the ammonium is utilized to synthesize different amino acids, nucleotides, and some biological amines. This ammonium is converted into the carbonyl phosphate by the use of ATP and by the use of bicarbonate. Then this carbonyl phosphate enters into the urea cycle, and urea cycle is containing 4 steps. There is a shunt between the citric acid and urea cycle that is sharing the compounds of each cycle. The shunt is called aspartate argininosuccinate shunt of citric acid cycle. The final product we can see for the urea cycle is the urea. Dietary proteins are the sources of amine groups. Amino acids are metabolized into the liver. The ammonia is generated, that is recycled to make other biosynthetic products. And excess ammonia is sometimes excreted directly or in the form of urea or uric acid. We can see amino acids are coming from the ingested proteins. This is the general formula of an amino acid. This amino acid is converted into the alpha keto acid, and its amine group is given to the alpha ketoglutarate to convert alpha ketoglutarate into the glutamate. We can see this conversion. On the right hand side, alanine that is coming from the muscles is giving its amine group to the alpha ketoglutarate and converting this alpha ketoglutarate into the glutamate. And itself, rest of the skeleton of the alanine is converted into the pyruvate. The glutamine that is coming from the muscles is then also giving the amine group in the form of ammoniumine, and rest of the skeleton is converted into the glutamate. And finally, ammonia is released, or urea is released, or uric acid is released. Dietary proteins are enzymatically degraded to amino acids. For example, we are eating a protein-rich diet. When this protein enters into the stomach, this activates the gastric mucosa of the stomach. This gastric mucosa releases the gastrin enzyme. This gastrin enzyme activates the Pratel cells and the chief cells. Pratel cells secretes the HCl that activates the pepsinogen released from the chief cells. This pepsin is then utilized to cleave the amine end of the peptide bond of the tyrosine, tryptophan, and phenylalanine that is present inside the proteins. These partially degraded proteins enters into the small intestine. In the small intestine, secretin is released that activates the pancreas to release the bicarbonate. Thus, bicarbonate that is coming from the pancreas increases the pH of partially degraded proteins near to 7 or 8. When some of the amino acids are partially degraded proteins introduced to the duodenum, the cholecytokinin is released into the blood that activates the exocrine cells of the pancreas. These exocrine cells releases the zymogen into the small intestine. These zymogen contain trypsinogen and chymotrypsinogen and procarboxypeptidases A and B. The enteropeptidase that is released from the small intestine activates and convert it into the trypsin. These all enzymes then degrade all the proteins from the C-terminal or from the N-terminal and convert all the protein into the amino acids. Pyridoxal phosphate participate in the transfer of alpha amino group to the alpha ketoglutarate. Alpha ketoglutarate under the action of PLP is converted into the L-glutamate, and this amine group is coming from the L-amino acid that itself is converting into the alpha keto acid. Pyridoxal phosphate participate in the transfer of amino group to the alpha ketoglutarate. This is the pyridoxal phosphate, and this is the amine group attached to the pyridoxal phosphate. This pyridoxal phosphate is the cofactor of the aspartate aminotransferase. This is the enzyme aspartate aminotransferase. For example, its nitrogen has a lone pair that acts on the carbon of the pyridoxal phosphate. This pyridoxal phosphate makes a bond with the enzyme that is called the aldehyde bond, or that is called the Schiff base. When the enzyme makes aldehyde bond with the cofactor, it is called the internal aldehyde bond. This has been shown, internal aldehyde here. When this cofactor makes a bond with the substrate, this is also aldehyde bond, but this is called the external aldehyde bond. This bond is necessary to transfer amino group to the alpha ketoglutarate. Glutamate releases its amino group as ammonia in the liver. The enzyme aspartate aminotransferase together with its cofactor pyridoxal phosphate, when interacts with the amino acid, there are three possibilities. In the first possibility, the transamination reaction can occur in which the alpha keto acid is obtained. In the second possibility, the L-amino acid is converted into the D-amino acid. We get a racemic mixture. In the third possibility, decarboxylation occurs and the carboxyl group are released in the form of carbon dioxide. In the first type of reaction, first of all, amino acid makes external aldehyde bond with the pyridoxal phosphate, and this is called the Schiff base formate. Then the quinonoid intermediate is formed after the release of one hydrogen. After the rearrangement reaction, we obtain this species, and the final product is alpha keto acid and the pyridoxamine phosphate. In the second case, the quinonoid intermediate of the pyridoxal phosphate along with amino acid is formed. Then release of one hydrogen occurs and we obtain this species. And finally, the L-amino acid is converted into the D-amino acid and released from the pyridoxal phosphate. In this case, pyridoxal phosphate is making Schiff base with the amino acid, and the quinonoid product is formed after the release of carbon dioxide. Then this quinonoid form is rearranged and is converted into the amine format, in which the carboxyl group has been removed completely. This is the glutamate that is containing the amine group. This glutamate releases its one hydrogen to convert NADP plus into NADPH, and its intermediate stage is achieved. This intermediate stage is then converted into the alpha ketoglutarate after the release of its amino group in the form of ammonium ion. Glutamate transfer ammonia in the bloodstream. This is the L-glutamate, and this is after the attachment with the phosphoryl group is converted into the gamma-glutamyl phosphate. This gamma-glutamyl phosphate is then attached to the ammonium and is converted into the L-glutamine. This L-glutamine is converted into the L-glutamate after the release of its amino group in the form of ammonium ion, and then this ammonia is converted into the urea and released from the body. Muscle protein is degraded to convert it into the amino acid. Amino acid releases the amine group in the form of ammoniumine that is used for the formation of glutamate. This glutamate is then converted into the alpha-ketoglutarate after the release of one amine group that is given to the pyruvate to convert this pyruvate in the alanine. This alanine can safely transfer the amine group through the bloodstream and reaches the liver. In the liver, alanine again gives its amine group to the alpha-ketoglutarate to convert it into the glutamate, and itself it is converted into pyruvate that is utilized to make the glucose through the gluconeogenesis. This glucose through the bloodstream then again reaches the muscle to be utilized. This way this cycle continues. Urea is produced from the ammonia in 5 enzymatic steps. The glutamine coming from the muscle enters into the mitochondria. The glutamine is converted into the glutamate and the ammonia is released. This glutamate secretes another amino group and gives it to the oxaloacetate, and this oxaloacetate is converted into aspartate, and the glutamate itself is converted into alpha-ketoglutarate. The ammonia that is released after its interaction with bicarbonate and with the ATP is converted into carbamyl phosphate. This carbamyl phosphate after its interaction with the ornithine is converted into citrulline. Citrulline then comes out of mitochondria and its intermediate structure is achieved, that is called the citrullyl AMP intermediate. This intermediate then interacts with aspartate to make the argininosuccinate. This argininosuccinate is converted into two products. One is fumarate that is excreted from the cycle, and the other one is arginine that is kept in the cycle. This arginine is converted into ornithine and into the urea. Urea is released from the cycle and ornithine is kept in the cycle. This ornithine goes to the mitochondria, and this way this cycle continues. This is the first reaction. This is the second reaction. This is the third reaction, and this is the fourth. These are the four reactions. We can see the mechanism through which the carbamyl phosphate and argininosuccinate through its intermediate is formed. We can see bicarbonate. Oxygen of the bicarbonate attacks the phosphate of the ATP, and this bond is formed. Then the lone pair of the nitrogen attacks the carbon, and the carbamate is formed. This carbamate under the action of ATP is converted into carbamyl phosphate. We can see ATP is being attacked by the citrulline, and the citrullyl AMP is formed. Then the lone pair of the nitrogen present in the aspartate attacks the carbon. Under this attack, the argininosuccinate product is formed. This is the urea cycle that is containing arginine, ornithine again in the mitochondria, citrulline out of mitochondria, and argininosuccinate. And we already know the citric acid cycle is also containing the oxaloacetate, the malate, and the fumarate. So there are some of the species that are common are shared between the urea cycle and the citric acid cycle. These are the aspartate and the argininosuccinate. And this is the shunt that is connecting the urea cycle with the citric acid cycle and called the aspartate argininosuccinate shunt of the citric acid cycle. There is a shuttle that is running from the citric acid cycle and again ending at the citric acid cycle, that is called the malate aspartate shuttle. We can see different products of this shuttle that are aspartate, oxaloacetate, and this is malate that is again entering into the citric acid cycle. So there is a regulation of urea cycle at two levels. First level is about the diet. If we eat protein-rich diet, urea cycle is activated. If we are under prolonged starvation, the proteins are degraded and the urea cycle is activated. If we are starving, all 5 major enzymes are activated and the urea cycle is also activated. The second type of regulation is the allosteric regulation of the first key enzyme carbamyl phosphate synthetase 1, that is regulated by the N-acetyl glutamate. Thus, two kinds of regulation is there in the urea cycle. The enzyme ALT and AST are very important in the diagnosis of heart and liver damage. In both cases, the ALT and AST are activated. In the case of heart attack, the creatine kinase is first, that is increased in the blood. Then GOT is second to come, that is increased in the blood, and GPT comes after this. SGOT and SGPT are important also to determine if the liver is damaged by the use of some oxidizing reagent like carbon tetrachloride or chloroform. If the liver is damaged because of the infection, then again the level of ALT and AST is increased. Thus these two enzymes are very important in the diagnosis. We can see the pathway interconnections reduce the energetics and the cost of the urea synthesis. Acetyl-CoA is here and glutamate is here. We can see arginine is activating this step and is converting these intermediates, these reactants, into the N-acetyl glutamate. The N-acetyl glutamate is important in regulating allosterically the carbamyl phosphate synthetase form. This enzyme is converting the bicarbonate ammonia in the presence of ATP into the carbamyl phosphate. Genetic defects in the urea cycles are making people vulnerable that cannot tolerate the protein-rich diets. The proteins that are ingested in excess are utilized to make other amino acid or some other intermediate products, and still the excess ammonia is released in the form of urea. If a person that is not having proper urea cycle, this disease can be treated by the use of benzoate or the phenylbutyrate. Benzoyl can be converted into the benzoyl-CoA by the use of ATP, and that is then utilizes the extra ammonia of the environment to convert itself into the hippurate that is released from the body safely. Second product that is utilized to treat the defect in the urea cycle is the phenylbutyrate. Phenylbutyrate is converted into the phenyl acetate, then into the phenyl acetyl-CoA, then it takes the excess ammonia and is converted into the phenyl acetyl glutamine. This product is released excreted from the body safely. Thus this phenylbutyrate is also utilized to release the excess ammonia from the body. These are some of the amino acids. Some are non-essential, some are conditionally essential, and some are essential. Some amino acids are there that are finally converted into acetoacetyl-CoA or the acetyl-CoA, and these two products are finally converted into the ketone bodies. Such classes of amino acids are called ketogenic amino acids, while the other classes of amino acids are called the glucogenic amino acids that make the alpha-ketoglutarate, succinyl-CoA, fumarate, oxaloacetate, or pyruvate. So during the amino acid degradation, there is a need of transfer of one carbon. So there are different cofactors that are utilized to transfer one carbon reaction. Those contain the biotin, tetrahydrofolate, and S-adenosyl methionine. We can see here the biotin is here. This is used to transfer carboxylic group. This causes a decarboxylation, and the carboxylic group is released in the form of carbon dioxide. We can see here tetrahydrofolate. This catalyzes the transfer of one carbon in the form of methylene, formyl, formamino, methinyl, or methyl group, and the S-adenosmethionine and the S-adenomethionine is utilized to transfer the methyl group. This is the tetrahydrofolate. Its carbon is this is the tetrahydrofolate. Its member number 5 nitrogen and the 10th one is utilized to carry out most of the reactions. For example, in this case it is taking methylene group from the serine. This methylene group has been shown here. This methylene group is then transferred to the next molecule. This after the rearrangement can be converted into the N5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, and the methyl group in this case can be transferred. Tetrahydrofolate can also transfer formyl group. After its interaction with the formate, it is converted into N-time formyl tetrahydrofolate. This N10 tetrahydrofolate is converted into N5N10 methynyl tetrahydrofolate. This is the product. That is converted into N5-farmamino tetrahydrofolate, and then another product is N5-farmyl tetrahydrofolate. In this case, the tetrahydrofolate can transfer the pharmyl group. In this case, it can release the methynyl group, and in this case, it can release the farmamino group. How the S-adenosyl methionine is formed from the methionine. Methionine, after its interaction with the ATP, is converted into S-adenosyl methionine, and this is the enzyme that is activating this reaction. This S-adenosyl methionine is converted into S-adenosyl homocysteine, then converted into homocysteine, and then again into the methionine. In this reaction, N5-methyl tetrahydrofolate is converted into tetrahydrofolate. 6 amino acids are degraded to pyruvate. We can see threonine is converted into 2-amino 3-ketobutyrate, that is converted to glycine. Glycine is also providing methylene to the tetrahydrofolate. So this tetrahydrofolate is converting glycine into the serine, and this serine is converted into pyruvate. We can see tryptophan can be converted into alanine, and alanine into the pyruvate again, and cysteine is converted into the pyruvate. The 6 amino acids are converted into pyruvate, and we know that pyruvate is utilized to produce the glucose. Several enzyme cofactors play important role in the amino acid catabolism. For example, serine hydratase reaction. In this reaction, PLP is making external LD-amine bond with the amino acid. After the release of one hydrogen, we get this new species. This new species is then reversing the external LD-amine bond with the internal LD-amine bond, and the rest of the carbon skeleton is released here. This carbon skeleton, after the rearrangement, is converted into pyruvate. Thus, PLP is activating the reaction to convert amino acid into the pyruvate. In the second example, we can see serine hydroxy methyltransferase reaction. In this reaction, PLP is making again external LD-amine bond, that is then is attacked by the base, and that takes one hydrogen from it, and we get the carbanion stabilized product. This carbanion stabilized product is converted into a new species by the action of tetrahydrofolate, N5N10 methylene tetrahydrofolate. This, after the rearrangement, is converted into serine. Glycine cleavage enzyme reaction. We can see PLP is making LD-amine bond with the amino acid. This amino acid is then converted into the carbanion. This negative charge on the carbon atom then attacks the sulfur of the enzyme H, and one of the hydrogen is released, and the bond is formed between the carbanion of the amino acid, that is again attached with the PLP with the sulfur of the enzyme H. Then the LD-amine bond is reversed, and the action of tetrahydrofolate gives us this product. This final product is giving us the enzyme H, that is also linking two sulfur atoms through a covalent bond, and this enzyme H is again utilized in the reaction and is attacked by the negative charge of the carbanion. This is a table showing some of the defects that are due to the metabolism of the amino acid. We can see here tryptophan is here, that is converted into the carbon dioxide alanine, and on the other side into the alpha keto adipate. Then it is converted into the glutaryl-CoA. This glutaryl-CoA is converted into the acetoacetyl-CoA, and then into the acetyl-CoA. Isoleucine is converted into the propionyl-CoA and into the acetyl-CoA. And this propionyl-CoA is also converted into the succinyl-CoA. On the right hand side, we can see that phenylalanine is converted into tyrosine. This tyrosine is converted into acetoacetate and into the acetyl-CoA. Leucine, after the 6 steps, is converted into the acetyl-CoA. We can see lysine is also converted into the alpha keto adipate, then the rest of the reaction is followed in the same way. Tryptophan is a precursor of serotonin, niacin, and etc. Tryptophan can be converted into niacin molecule that is utilized to make the NAD and NADP. These are the energy molecules. This is also converted into serotonin, that is a neurotransmitter, and the indole acetate is also made from the tryptophan, that is a plant growth factor. There are different diseases that are because of the defect in the phenylalanine catabolism. Like the phenylalanine is converted into the tyrosine, then into the p-hydroxyphenylpyruvate, then into the homogeneous state. If there is a defect in the enzyme phenylalanine hydroxylase, the disease is called the PKU, phenylketonuria. And the defect in this enzyme is result in the tyrosinemia type 2. If there is a defect in this enzyme, this disease is called tyrosinemia type 3 disease. There is a conversion between the 7,8 dihydrobiopterin into the 5,6,7,8 tetrahydrobiopterin. And this reaction is facilitated on one side NADPH+, and on the other side by the phenylalanine. Phenylalanine is taking up the hydrogen from 5,6,7,8 tetrahydrobiopterin and is converting into its scononoid form. And the NADPH+ is taking its scononoid form, is converting it into 5,6,7,8 tetrahydrobiopterin. Phenylalanine catabolism is genetically defective in some people. There is an alternative pathway for the degradation of phenylalanine. Phenylalanine can be converted into the phenylpyruvate and then into the phenyl acetate and phenyl lactate. 5 amino acids are converted to alpha ketoglutarate. Like arginine is converted into ornithine, and then ornithine is converted into glutamate gamma semialdehyde, and then this product is converted into the delta pyrroline S carboxylate, and the pyrroline is converted into this product. We can see here histidine is converted into the glutamate, and the glutamate is converted into the alpha ketoglutarate, and glutamine is again converted into the glutamate and then into the alpha ketoglutarate. Thus 5 amino acids converge at alpha ketoglutarate. 4 amino acids are converted to succinyl-CoA. We can see here methionine is here, that is converted into homocysteine and then into the alpha ketobutyrate, and threonine is also converted into alpha ketobutyrate, and the valine is converted into the propionyl-CoA, and we can see isoleucine is converted into again propionyl-CoA, and this propionyl-CoA is converted into the methylmalonyl-CoA and into the succinyl-CoA. Thus 4 amino acids are degraded by this pathway. Actually, branch chain amino acids are degraded by the branch chain aminotransferases. Valine, isoleucine and leucine, they are not degraded completely into the liver. So they are converted first into the deaminated form, that is the alpha keto acid form, and then they are converted into the acetyl-CoA derivative. This way the branch chain amino acids are degraded. Asparagine and aspartate are degraded to oxaloacetate. Asparagine is converted into aspartate and then is converted to oxaloacetate, and oxaloacetate is utilized into the TCA cycle. Thanks for watching.